Welcome in, everybody, to leading off right here on Fantasy Pros. It is me, Joey P. Joe Pisapia. That's Dan Harris, and it's you. And we're talking all things baseball today, and we got a great show for you as always. We got 13 games on the big MLB DFS slate tonight. We got a lot to recap, including the Shohei Ohtani Spite Store that is open for business yet again. Dan Harris, ooh, you know what? I know that first inning was a bit of a struggle, but Shohei settled down and that splitter was working. Good morning, my friend. Look at you, back to normal in your regular spot. Although I did miss the dark side of Dan Harris yesterday. I miss that version.
I know my mother is without a doubt listening to this show right now, so I don't want to be mean about it because I adore my mother, and I was so glad to be able to do the podcast. She was so impressed. She was like, wow, that's how the sausage is made, huh? And I was like, yeah, but I could not be happier to be back in my domain with my lights and my backdrop and everything normal. I'm very excited for today's show. Let's go.
Well, Dan's mom, if you're listening and watching, we appreciate you being part of the program and letting your boy do the show from the house, even though he was there to visit. I mean, really, Dan, you should be visiting your mom, not working while you're there. But I'm sure, my guilt trip is not as good as hers could possibly be. Let's do a little 3 up and 3 down. I see the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks are live this morning. It was like 40 comments before we even started the show today.
I love it.
Let's do it. Let's do the 3 up and 3 down. Trevor Rogers outduels Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns, by the way, still hasn't walked anybody all year. We'll take the over-under on when that's going to happen at some point in the season. I'm telling you that Trevor Rogers right now, that Milwaukee lineup, I'm going to be trolling them for the foreseeable future. Sean Manaea keeps the A's hot. I mean, who'd have thought the Sean Manaea renaissance? Look at him coming back from the dead yet again. He just keeps on rising. It's unbelievable. And then for the Angels, Mike Trout returns, goes 4 for 5. And Ohtani, again, rough start. 9 Ks afterwards. He also had that bunt to the opposite side of the field there to beat the shift. Oh my, that was to me the Spite Store moment too. I was like, that's right. That's the kind of investment we're going to make. Because Shohei Ohtani's that kind of guy. He fits the Spite Store narrative, and I'm so happy about it, Dan.
Yeah, Ohtani is fascinating. I don't know, Joe. He's so talented as a pitcher, but I kind of just wish he was the everyday DH because I'd like to see him hit 40 home runs and for us to be able to put him in there. But for now, yeah, he provides value on both. That was great to see. Trevor Rogers, kudos to you, by the way, right? Because we were talking about with DFS and you were like, I don't know, man. Strikes me as Trevor Rogers is the better play. And I was like, you go away from Burns and you are nuts. And Burns was good. He gave up some runs, but he obviously struck out 9, didn't walk anybody. But Rogers, he looks legitimate. I mean, there are innings concerns for sure, but wow, I'm going to be updating my SP rankings today, and I don't know how I'm going to move him, but I'm nervous. And Manaea, good to see his velocity is up this year. That's good. He's changed his pitch mix a little bit. Only went 5 innings and threw 100 pitches in there, so he's got to cut that down a little bit. But all these guys, yeah, I mean, everybody's trending up. I love it.
It's up, baby. And you're right about 2 things. I was right about Trevor Rogers against Burns, and I'm also nuts. So you're 2 for 2 there. 3 down. Actually, you know what? I forgot to mention this to you because we have all the Ohtani. We did that fun draft at Tout Wars where you helped me out. You were like you and Bogman were my sidekicks for it. It was great. We had a great time.
Yep.
And about a week and a half ago, I got a trade offer from the person who originally got Ohtani. But then
I recall.
You know who that individual was. They tried to offer me a trade. What are you, crazy? You can't offer that trade to Latte Larry. You can't take my Ohtani. It's never happening. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, you can have Ohtani when you pry him from my cold dead.
The guts, after all of that drama, to offer me a trade 3 weeks into the season for even half of my Ohtani shares, the pitcher or the hitter. Ridiculous. Okay, anyway.
Very quickly, Joe, if he was just as a pitcher, where would you value him rest of the season as just a pitcher?
As just a pitcher, I think as he goes, the feel for pitching is going to come back for him. Okay. I think what you see is this, the reason why you see the hiccup in the first inning is because he's still searching for that control. He's searching for that feel. Pitching is a feel, just like hitting is to a certain extent. It's a lot of timing and mechanics and all that stuff. And I think when you haven't done it in so long, it's the natural talent takes over eventually sometimes when you're feeling it. And as he continued on, he got better in that game. And I think as the season goes on, he'll get better too. Once again, the innings are going to be an issue. But yeah, I'm actually okay. I think he is like a really good number 3 starter who's going to have moments, but he's also going to have moments where he's like a 4-inning pitcher and it's not going to be the greatest. But I do think as he goes in May and June, it will get better and more consistent with the feel. 3 down. Corbin Burns is human. That's a question mark. I mean, he did lose. The defense didn't help him out. He got tired a little bit in that game. You could see it a little bit. Amir
Yep.
Garrett, another blown save. Sims looked good in that game, though. I'm going to point that out. And TJ Antone got the win when all is said and done. And the Yankees are now behind the Orioles in the standings as they lose to Matt Harvey. So yeah, that's in the down category. But I think it's going to be a good night for runs in that game tonight, Dan.
Yeah, I will be going back to the well for DFS. They're just ridiculous with the Yankees. They'll heat up eventually, but I don't know what it is with the Reds closer situation. I mean, Sims looked amazing, but he was brought in the 6th inning, so I don't know what to make of that. Again, Garrett gives up a home, brought in just get the lefty out. No, let's give up a game tying homer. So that's why maybe Anton. I mean, he pitched 3 innings yesterday, so I don't really know if they're grooming him to be the closer. But if so, I would run to get him because I think he's going to get. I'm just avoiding that entire situation for now.
I picked him up last week already, just kind of speculatively.
You mentioned him. Yep.
I'm just gonna have him. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Some other big stories: Rhys Hoskins, 2 home runs again. He leads the league with 8 homers, so great on him. Zach Wheeler dominates the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a tricky team. I keep telling everybody this, too. It's just, the Cardinals, I think, are in, one of those situations where they've got really great pieces like Flaherty, like Goldschmidt, like Arenado. And then when you look at, the rest, it's just kind of a question mark. The back of the rotation is a bit of a question mark to me. Some of the bottom part of the lineup's a question to me. In terms of some other impressive performances last night, Cedric Mullins leading off 3 for 4, 2 dingers. He's at 365. Maybe we'll go back to that well in that Orioles game against Corey Klube, the Klubes, and Anthony Desclafani, my people. Complete game shutout. How you doing? 9 Ks over the Rockies.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Desclafani? Because we talked about him, right? You talk all the pitcher nerds. They all love him, and this was a moment where the pitching nerds won.
So 2 things. I mean, on the downside, it's against the Rockies in their first game away from Coors. That's like layup central, right? That is when the Rockies are still like, the ball is moving differently. We don't know how to hit it. So they're usually a good spot to pick on. But the Giants kind of do this now where they pick up these reclamation I mean, look at Aaron Sanchez, Kevin Gausman last year.
The whole
they know
what a reclamation project.
They know how to do this with their pitchers. So I'm not running to buy Desclafani, but I'm evaluating him right now. And I do kind of think that he's a guy who can have value rest of season. So I'm a little excited about him. I want to mention one thing on Mullins because I want to give shout out, I want to give shout out to other people in the industry. Mike Kurland, who had appeared on the show in the spring, he kept track of lineups, every day in a spreadsheet, and he tweeted them out. I didn't actually see it, so I want to also give kudos to Justin Mason, who tweeted out Kurland's sort of tweet about it, how Mullins was batting leadoff every game in the spring. And I didn't realize that. And when that happened, I was in the middle of a draft Champions League, and I was like, the guy's batting leadoff for the Orioles. I don't have that much faith in Mullins. But things like that, by the way, when we talk about what matters in spring, that sort of stuff matters. This is great to see. He's not going to bat 365 all year, but he is a guy who I think you can probably play in the right matchup. So just Mike Kurland, if you don't follow him on Twitter, and Justin Mason, both those guys provided valuable information in the spring. So things like that, pay attention to next year.
And you only had a few more tweets of someone else who tweeted that, who's someone else, to get to Kevin Bacon.
That's true. We were 3 degrees of Mike Kurland. Exactly right.
Cesar Valdez, 5th save against the Yankees last night. Again, I actually picked him up last week. He was in our little FantasyPros league. It's a very shallow ESPN league, and he was out on the waiver wire. I was like, well, I'm just going to pick him up, and I dropped Amir Garrett and picked up Cesar Valdez. So
do you remember, by the way, Joe, early on, one of our earliest shows, it was buy or sell, Cesar Valdez is going to be a top 15 closer, and we were like, probably not. Look, when you throw only changeups, which was my little league strategy as a pitcher, you can get anybody out. He is just changeup. I love it.
Oh, goodness. Adam Wainwright, complete game, 2 runs, 8 Ks, but he lost to Wheeler in this one. So Wainwright, has pitched pretty well. Nate Lowe, 6th home run of the year. He's up to 21 ribbies. Rich Hill, 10 strikeouts. I'm so mad at myself. In my home league, I sat Rich Hill this week because I was like, the A's are crushing the ball. He's been mediocre. So there's 10 strikeouts on my bench. Oh, well, c'est la vie. Buster Posey, 4 for 5, hit his 5th dinger. He's hitting 327. He's cheap tonight on FanDuel. We're going to get to him later. Show Mania, we mentioned before. And Jose Barrios, a hilarious moment there. Well, hilarious to me, where Rocco Baldelli, also my people, he went out to the mound a second time and kind of forgot that he was going out to the mound a second time.
Love it.
And then Jose Barrios had to come out of the game, which was pretty amazing. Zach Plesac, I guess you could say he bounced back. I mean, anything is progress considering where he was.
Yep.
7 innings, 3 runs for him. But that's going to be Plesac. I think it's going to be good and bad, which makes him not the right necessarily guy that you want to own at a high cost. I think that's the point there that, we're all making. And I saw something earlier in this chat with the peanuts and the cracker jacks that I wanted to get to, because this was a massive trade from Bizza Rizza Jizza. He said that he was offered Shane Bieber for Mookie Betts. And I got to tell you, man, that's one of those where you just look at your roster and you have to go, when you're making a blockbuster like that, you have to be realistic. Bieber, we mentioned before, he's on this incredible pace where he's got like at least 8 strikeouts in his last, 5,000 starts. It was crazy. Whatever that number was. I got to tell you, right now in this day and age, I almost think I'd rather have Bieber if I had to choose. I know that might sound crazy. I just looking at the landscape of things, I think I'd rather have that elite pitcher, as great as Mookie is. What are your thoughts on a big blockbuster trade like that? Because that's a big one.
Yeah, I think if I could redo my draft rankings, I would probably have the big 3 pitchers near, maybe behind Acuna, maybe with that. But other than that, they'd kind of lead the way because, again, we've seen injuries. We've seen poor performances from a lot of guys. Luis Castillo jumps to mind about, just a guy who you're relying on as a top 10 starter, just not doing it. The guys just, Lucas Giolito gives up 1,000 runs against the Red Sox. Those guys, Bieber and Cole and DeGrom just don't do it. So, yeah, I wouldn't argue with it either way, but I'm completely fine with that trade regardless. Can I mention a couple things on a couple of guys you mentioned?
Sure.
So Posey, look, I had an inkling. It was like, well, Posey had battled hip, he had the hip surgery, so it probably affected him. The 2 years he sat out, maybe this is going to be a Posey year, and I couldn't bring myself to, move him high enough. We talked about him as a potential catcher one, but there is nothing not to like right now about what Buster Posey is doing. I think you can actually rely on him for the rest of the year. Adam Wainwright is a guy who you can roster in points leagues. I'm still not ready to go there in rotisserie, but given the fact that he is throwing innings, that's really good to see. And I want to mention one thing about Zach Plesac. Everybody knows how I feel about Zach Plesac. I actually was kind of impressed with him in the start. I watched the start closely. One of the reasons I did, by the way, is, we have a sister site, Betting Pros. And one of the things I do, we have if you are at all into sports betting, we have something called the Major League Baseball prop bet cheat sheet, where it basically uses our daily projections and puts them against lines that are available in the market. And so my favorite prop yesterday was Zach Plesac over 2.5 earned runs allowed. So he wound up allowing 3, but I was watching that. I was glued to that something. If you ever want to join that, go to bettingpros.com/chat. I give out a player prop every day. It's totally free. It's our Discord channel. So just wanted to give a quick plug for that. But Plesac was actually kind of impressive. His 5.81 ERA on the season is not. I'm not worried about it.
And I knew eventually Melissa would get into this chat. And yes, Melissa, welcome to the group here. I see you in the group this morning. And yes, I did make a little Yankee comment just for you, because I know you are the queen of the Yankees and you love the Yankees so much. Andrew wants to know, in 5x5, would you pick up Cron, Votto, Upton, or Santana? Well, Santana, I mean, come on. Look, the guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, I don't even know how any of these guys are still. I don't know what size league that is. And I got really excited because I thought it was Alex Bregman was in the chat this morning, but it's not. It's Alex Bergman. Alex, you're no less of an Alex. I just want you to know, for a moment there, I thought, oh my goodness. But he's got a question here. Eugenio Suarez, what are we doing with him? I think he just hold, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I don't really have concerns about Eugenio Suarez. This is kind of, look, again, it's as much as it's like, well, it's sort of the end of April. It's still really early. It's still something where you just got to let the weather warm up a little bit, ride it out. I'm not selling low on him. I'm not selling low on anybody. I mean, I'm still holding Victor Robles and just sort of going to be like, let me see how this goes for the next few weeks before I move anything. Certainly not a guy like Suarez. I'm holding firm.
I'll tell you, when guys change positions, it throws everything off.
That's also true. That's right. That's an actual explanation.
We always think of like these guys like robots. They're not. They're just not. And I'm getting a ton of questions about Robles. Yes, it's okay to drop him.
It is okay to drop him. Absolutely. Joe, I'll let a
lot of things, but
I'll let our peanut gallery know, and you too. Yeah. I had a trade offer of Mitch Haniger for Victor Robles, and I was like, that's probably a deal I should make.
Accept.
I understand. I didn't, because it just struck me as the Mitch Haniger, like with his health, this is the epitome of a Dan Harris, like, all right, I'm done with this guy. I'm buying high on this other guy. And then immediately Robles takes off. So I was just like, you know what?
Why did you become John Travolta in this trade? Oh my God, I'm done with this guy. I can't believe it. I'm so over Victor Robles. I can't believe it. Give me Mitch Haniger. He's so much better of a play. Oh my God. It's great. Oh my God. All right, let's try to get back on track. I don't know
Yes,
if we
let's
can.
go. Let's go.
All right, let's hammer some people. Let's hammer Austin Gomer. I hate the I told you so, but I told you so. He's got 15 walk. You can't be a successful pitcher in the major leagues when you have a walk rate that's higher than your strike rate practically. It's not going to happen. You can't put guys on. You're going to get lit up. And guess what? He got lit up. No shock there. 1 2/3 with 9 earned runs. Zach Davies, we told you so. He's very hittable. Go out there. Jordan Lyles, another guy too. 7 earned runs yesterday for him. So it was a lot of the crap fest yesterday. I already mentioned Amir Garrett, which makes me depressed. So once again, I don't want to get too much on that. But I mean, come on. Like, look, the one thing that we want to always look in you're evaluating pitchers. Everybody looks so much into these deep stats and the StatCast and the barrel rate and all that stuff is great. It's great. I looked at it this morning when putting the DFS stuff together for everybody today.
Sure.
But keep it simple sometimes. When you say a walk per 9 at that level, at the major league level, you are going to get crushed. Because if you put on that number of guys, when a guy gets on first with nobody out, there's a 51% chance that player is going to score a run. Okay? That's not me talking. That's just the facts of life. Now you put 2 guys on there with 1 out or 2 guys on with nobody out, the potential for runs increases exponentially. It is basically going to light itself on fire at some point, and if it hadn't already, it was only because just extreme luck. Sometimes go back to the simple things. Pitchers who walk too many guys, going to be a problem. I'm done. I will get off my high horse now. Let's go ahead. You get on the horse.
I think what this all comes down to is, number one, why Shane Bieber might, be a top 3 pick overall. It's because other than that, people are trying to find these guys to stream like Austin Gobber. It's not going to work. That the way I look at it is, and I'm desperate for pitching in a couple of really deep leagues, is I have to basically be able to trust the pitcher at some level. And none of these guys, I mean, Lyles, no chance. Davies, I just don't. If you don't, just avoid it, man. Don't buy into all the stuff. And you're right. Like, I did not understand there was love for Austin Gomber. I did not understand it whatsoever. So, sorry it blew up, but in the end, just try to pick your spots really carefully and don't pick up random Colorado pitchers to pitch on the
No, don't pick up any random Colorado pitchers when you're out at the bar and it's like 2 a.m. and you've had a couple of drinks and you're like, hey, Chichi Gonzalez is looking pretty good right now. No,
I try to basically, my rule of thumb is I try not to play anybody who I couldn't pick out of a lineup, and I couldn't have picked out Austin Gomber out of a lineup, because I've never just sat there and watched him pitch. So I'm saying I'm not going there.
Good for you. All right, let's do a little trivia. Which was more, Shohei Ohtani's runs allowed or his combined runs and RBI in yesterday's game?
The answer is the runs and RBI. He had 5. He allowed 4 earned runs. It's just remarkable, really, what the guys. As a hitter, I'm so beyond impressed. And I know at this point it's old hat, but goodness gracious, like I'd love it if the guy was just in the lineup every single day, because he'd be one of the best hitters in baseball by season's end. So I'd rather even not see him as a pitcher, just hit.
The Oakland bullpen is a committee, but who got the save yesterday, Dan Harris?
I believe it was Lou Trevino. I don't know.
Oh my God, it was. You're so right. It was Trevino. He's so good. So good at closing out the games. Oh my God. All right.
You got a Travolta impression going, and now it's I don't know what to do with that bullpen. I don't know. Oh, roster both. They win every game, so roster both Diekman and Trevino and just get normal amount of saves.
You can't argue with that logic. You can't.
Know.
They've won every game.
Yeah, they win every game.
This came from the internets, and we are the people show. So Winston at Briggs187 says, I buy the Black Book every year. Thank you. Question for the Fantasy Pros Leading Off podcast. You had Verdugo ranked as a 40th outfielder. I've seen a wide range of projections of him the last season, including CBS having him as 17th player overall. That's a little high. Discuss the 2 to 3 year value of him. Look, in terms of, like, for me personally, last year I saw a huge progression in Verdugo. So we had him higher in the Black Book because when you start to hit lefties at that clip, when you're a left-handed hitter, that just means you're going to play every day, no matter what. And that is huge. Right now he's dealing with a little bit of a, not quite 100% healthy, but Verdugo, I think, is going to finish in that, I would say, low-end outfielder 2 category. That kind of feels that's kind of where I had him going into the year. I think that's the player he is. He's not a 40 home run guy. He's not going to blow the doors off the place, but I think he is better than most of the outfielder 3s, if that makes sense, or somewhere in that range. I think that's what he is, right? He's a high-end 3, low-end 2, possibly. In the next 2 to 3 years, if we're looking projecting, where are you projecting for Verdugo?
I would say that's right. I would say if I'm going to pick how he is for the next, let's say, 3 seasons, I would pick like a high-end outfielder 3. I mean, the thing with him is that he's never going to be a guy who steals a ton of bases. He's a good base runner. He doesn't have amazing speed. So he's never going to be a guy who's like, I'm going to bust out a 30 to 40 steal season. That's just not him. And he never doesn't have a ton of power, and I don't see it developing. So again, he's probably not going to be a 30 homer guy. But again, with the Red Sox, he gets on base a ton. He's going to help in batting average, which is really tough. He's going to have plenty of runs and RBI. So yeah, I mean, a guy who you're not going to be like, I am relying on this guy, but he's also the guy who finds his way onto a ton of championship rosters. So high-end outfielder 3 is what comes to mind for the next few years.
Alex Kirilloff batted fourth yesterday. Keep an eye on that.
He hit a couple balls really hard, by the way.
did.
I will point that out. He only had one hit, a double, but he really
I was gonna say,
hit a few on the screws.
Yeah, that's good. And that's the thing. Once again, if you don't watch, you just look at the box scores, you're not seeing everything. You're not seeing what Dan's saying. It's the same thing a couple weeks ago when I saw Trey Turner hitting laser beams everywhere and outs. And I kept saying, well, it's just a matter of time before Trey Turner starts heating up, start putting him in DFS lineups. Now you're getting a discount. Randy Rosarena, which is a great Travolta name. Oh, Rosarena, oh my God. Led off 3 for 4 with a stolen base. He's a good matchup tonight against Montas, who's been very hittable this year, much to my chagrin. Charlie Blackmon dropped to 6th in the order. Wah, wah, Yadier, Molina, Rendon, and Gavin Lux all returned, but Javier Baez and Byron Buxton missed games. So, once again, Byron Buxton, it's always, it's a roller coaster. You got to kind of take the good with the bad when you have Byron Buxton. It's just going to be it. I think this is just the player he is. I just think if he can play 145 games this year, you're going to see a great investment and return on investment. Like, that'd be amazing if he played 145.
I think the one thing that is good about this whole Buxton thing, I think it was patella tendonitis, is that he was dealing with it already. Like, this wasn't something new that came up. It was like, oh, he's been dealing with his mat. And if he's been dealing with it and been hitting like this, then I feel a whole lot more comfortable. But yeah, you bake in a good 20 games, missed for the season. And that if you get that, you're ecstatic.
I love, by the way, that the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks are all helping each other. Like, I love when I look in the chat, and this is it's like this beautiful little community here at Leading Off that we've created, and I love this. I love that it's the same people. I love every day. It's also new people that I've never seen in this chat. And if you are not watching, make sure you get in here live with us when you can on Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, every morning, Monday through Friday, live 9 a.m. on our YouTube channel, Fantasy Pros MLB. Don't confuse it with Fantasy Pros. We're our own thing. We are the alternate site YouTube channel. That's what we are. It's great. I love it. It's a supportive, fun group of people who are having fun talking baseball every morning. So come in and join us. By the way, speaking of joining us, our sponsor, Manscaped, which, we do the reads for every day here in the show. We love Manscaped here.
We do.
I've mentioned that big things going on in the world of Manscaped. And guess who showed up from the alternate site? My God, it's the 4.0, the Lawnmower 4.0. Look at it in all of its glory. It came yesterday. I was like, what is this box? I open it up. Boom, there it is. Look at it. Look at it. It's glorious. 7,000 glorious RPMs of quiet stroke technology. Actually, I don't even know how many RPMs. I'm actually afraid to open this. It may be that powerful, Dan. So if I'm not here tomorrow, you know what happened. I manscaped myself to a point where I was unable to come into work that day. So you're my boss anyway. So for those of you who don't know, so I'm just calling out tomorrow just in case the manscaping goes to a new level. But anyway, you can get your Manscaped products thanks to us here at Fantasy Pros. Use the code Leading Off and get 20% off plus free shipping from manscaped.com. I'm telling you, the 3.0 is great. I can't even imagine the power of the 4.0. I'm going to hold it in my hand sometime, and it's going to be glorious. The 3.0 did make a cameo appearance on the show last week. Manscaped probably loves us because I think we do a great job of promoting the products here. So anyway, go to manscaped.com, use the code Leading Off, and get your 20% off plus free shipping today. Your balls will thank you. And look, if you're one of the ladies watching the show, get it for your significant other, for your man, because you'll be happy too. Let him clean up a little bit, for God's sakes. All right, let's get to DFS. We got a lot of games to get to today.
Yep.
The good chalk today clearly is the Nationals. They're very cheap, especially on FanDuel. You got Scherzer up there. Here's my thing, and I'm going to go out on another limb. I went on a limb yesterday with Trevor Rogers. We're going to see if we could double down, make it 2 for 2. Scherzer on FanDuel is too expensive at 12 for me.
Yes.
It's too much. On DK, it's good cash game investment. 10.9, that's fair. 10.9 fair. 12, no thank you. I'm out. Who I do like in cash games tonight is Christian Javier. I'm going back to my Christian Javier well. I like this matchup. He is at home. He is 9.4 and 9.3 respectively on both sites. I know some people will say, well, the Astros are inconsistent. Listen. Come closer. Listen. Seattle Mariners strike out a ton. Christian Javier was lights out last game against the Angels, a much better hitting lineup. I'm telling you right now, this kid is electric. Let's take another shot here. I know it's cash. It's a little scary for the new guys, but I'm telling you right now, Christian Javier has that kind of stuff. So Dan, are you going to hold my hand and walk through the valley with me with Christian Javier?
I will say that I have zero problems with going with Christian Javier.
Okay.
I agree that Scherzer's way too expensive on FanDuel. For me, though, especially on DK, where they're basically the same price, and on FanDuel, where Giolito is a little more, but I'm going to Giolito. Is everybody just terrified because he woke up too early and had like a Patriots day?
He woke up too early, and then and then I cut my finger on something, and then, oh, dude, he's like, I don't know, he's like that character Sean Penn played in Fast Times at Ridgemont High all of a sudden.
Oh, man. Yeah, like, I get it. I don't care. I'm going to Giolito in this one. I mean, I have no problems with Javier, especially because he's cheaper, and especially on FanDuel. But for me, I don't know, dude. I mean, Jose Urena, not terrible, actually, lately. So, the win equity, but against the Tigers, come on, man. Like, this is where I'm going. I'm not even thinking twice about it. So I'm going with Giolito. You'll go with Javier. I think we're both going to be happy, but that's where I'm going.
I'm okay with Giolito. I actually think the roster percentage is going to be oddly low.
That is it, by the way.
That's I like Giolito more as a tournament play tonight because I think so many people are scared. So as cash, I actually think it's kind of like it's Scherzer, it's Javier. I think Giolito is a fine option.
Yeah.
But I actually think there's a more Giolito appeal, and I didn't even put this in the sheet. It's just something I've thought all morning, and I've been wrestling with it. Lucas Giolito, bro. I think that's what we just renamed him. I love the eye roll. Oh, I got that eye roll from Dan.
You get so many eye rolls. That's why you should be watching on youtube.com/FantasyPros MLB because you can
don't pretend like you don't love this.
I do love it, but you still get you still get eye rolls, man. That's what we're I mean, look, also, I will say that Vegas, again, the implied total for the Tigers, 3.1 runs, implied total for the Mariners, 3.7 runs. I think Giolito is going to I think this is going to be a bounce back start here.
You're probably right. I think you can actually make more out of it with the tournament play because I do think people are
that's
a little scared off right now.
That's fair.
Some other secondary arms. Ian Anderson, 8.4, 8.6. Zach Eflin, 8.8 against the Cardinals, who are scuffling a little bit. And I'm going to throw this name out there, which is not a name I'd normally recommend. It's more just because of the slate tonight. And he's pitched very well. He's only given up like 4 earned runs all year so far. His ERA is like 1 something. And it's Aaron Sanchez of the San Francisco Giants. Home-friendly environment in terms of pitching. Good matchup tonight. I just think that as a secondary arm, if you want to go up to Scherzer, to Giolito, to any of the big guys and still get on some big offenses, that's the way to go. But I would also say this, in terms of stacking today, I would definitely be looking at the Phillies against Carlos Martinez.
Yes.
All in on there. We've been trolling him. It's worked. Look, tonight might be the night it doesn't work. That's baseball, but I think we're going right after him tonight. I'm going to go with the Rays too. If Rosarang's at the top or Meadows, doesn't matter. I want to get in on those guys. Montas has been very hittable, and I know he's one of my guys, but sometimes you just got to like recognize where the trend is, and the trend isn't good. Montas turns it around, great. Houston, I'm all in on Houston tonight against Seattle once again, and San Diego. Those are kind of the stacks I'm looking for tonight in terms of what we got. We always like to go against Merrill Kelly whenever we get the chance. There's some game stack opportunities to do for the first time in a while. A's Rays, despite the fact that it's in Tampa, not a giant run ballpark, but still, I think you're looking at the pitching matchups, Waka and Montas. I think there's a lot to like there. And then you've got, of course, the New York Yankees in Baltimore, which, again, it's going to be heavily rostered. Who cares if it works? And just want to say everything out there, guys, gals, look at the cost of the Nats and Yankees on FanDuel. They are so cheap. I'd even put the individuals out there because collectively they're so cheap. Stanton is in the mid to high 3s. Judge is in the mid 3s. Everybody else is 3K and under. Yep. And same thing with the Nats. It's just like Trey Turner, and then everybody's super cheap, including some guys who are like free square guys, like 2.2 kind of stuff. If they're in the lineup and they're playing and they're hitting at the top of the order somewhere in the 1 or 2 spot, just to roster them, even if they don't have good returns, it allows you to get everything else you need. That's kind of where I'm going tonight. Any other thoughts before we get to more of the lineup builders for the evening?
Not a ton. I wouldn't mind kind of looking at the Mets too against Garrett Richards. I know they haven't been hitting with runners in scoring position or anything like that, but the temperature and the wind is favorable, so I wouldn't mind looking at them. The one thing I will say, and this is probably more of a gut feeling, but because I'm so heavily invested in Montas, I kind of look at him really closely. I don't think I'm going to stack the Rays tonight. I don't think I'm going to go after Rays bats. I kind of have a feeling this is going to be a bounce back Montas start. I think the things that caused him and the Twins, that game was nuts with him, Maeda.
Oh, yeah,
I think he's going to bounce back in this game, actually. I'm not ready to start him even as a secondary arm necessarily in DK, but I think I am personally avoiding the Rays. And if they go off, like, kudos to you, but I kind of view this as maybe a bounce back start for Montas. So that's my only
I
added,
hope it is,
mm-hmm.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I think sometimes you got to take advantage of your shame.
Yep.
You got to embrace the shame and say, you know what? He's not been great.
Nope.
Let's go at him a little bit. Let's try.
I am wrong. I am wrong on a million things. I may be wrong on Montas. I may be wrong on Montas this year. I'm not ready though to go there with him because I've watched it. And again, I do think that a lot of what he just wasn't getting ground balls. Like he knows you need to keep it down in the zone and pound it into the ground. You've got guys like a Rosarena that hit ground balls all the time on Tampa. So I'm avoiding the Tampa bats today. I think it's going to be a bounce back start for Montas. But
all right. Pens and papers out. FanDuel, all the Nats and all the Yankees cheap.
Yep.
Corey Dickerson, Alex Dickerson, all the Dickersons. Corey Dickerson's 2.5, Alex Dickerson's 2.7. We talked before about Buster Posey. He's just 2.8. So is Darren Fletcher. On the DK side, Baltimore bats very cheap tonight against Corey Kluber. I know they're not sexy, but Corey Kluber, he's going to make everybody look sexy. He's like the perfect filter that on Instagram that makes everybody look hot all of a sudden. That's Corey Kluber. Meadows 3.6, Urshela 3.1, Hicks 3. Hernandez for the Nats, where he's hitting in the lineup, I don't know, but if he's up at 2 again, he's 2K, free square on DK. You don't get a lot of those free squares on DraftKings. Swanson, who we mentioned yesterday on the show, right? The bottom part of that Atlanta Braves lineup is cheap. Go after it. Swanson again, 3.7. And on DK, Adolis Garcia in a good matchup, just 3.9. It's time to call our shot. Dan, the board is yours. I've already put my pick in the sheet today. I see you've left yours blank for.
Oh, I didn't see it.
So who are you going tonight with for your home run call?
I am going to go back to the same well that I went to yesterday that did not work out because Matt Harvey is very clearly the best pitcher on the planet. But I'm going back to the Yankees, and I'm going back to Giancarlo Stanton. Now, if for whatever, I'm going to call the backup because I have a jinx alert here. If for whatever reason Stanton is out, I'm going with Judge against the lefty Zimmerman. At some point, they have to hit. And, for a tournament, you mentioned how cheap everybody is, but Stanton is not still. I mean, even on FanDuel, he's 3.7K, so he may not be rostered that heavily. I just feel like it's coming. I'm going with Stanton again.
Juan Simo, you predicted my home run call. It is indeed Bryce Harper tonight against Carlos Martinez. That's right. Bryce Harper going out, taking him yard. That's what I'm looking for. All right, that'll do it for us today. I want to remind everybody, go to manscaped.com. The Lawnmower 4.0, it's real. I've seen it. It's spectacular. 20% off and free shipping thanks to manscaped.com. And don't forget, too, only a few days left, just days, for you to get that Ron Acuna autographed jersey. Go to fantasypros.com/MLB contest. All you do is you write a review on Apple Podcasts, which you should have done for us anyway, but go do it now. Or CastBox. You take a screenshot. You go to fantasypros.com/MLB contest. You upload it. You fill out the form. Bang, you are entered to win. Thanks to our friends at pristineauction.com. We love Pristine Auction. We love Manscaped. We love you for listening and watching here. You're part of this family. This is a family show. That's what we do. All right, that'll do it for us. We'll be back again tomorrow to do it all again. But in the meantime, the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris, I'm Joe Pisapia. We'll see you next time, kids.